Ever wondered why monks are so good at making beer? It's not just a fun hobby, it was literally a matter of life and death. When medieval water could kill you, these holy brewmasters found salvation in barley and hops. Let's talk about medieval water. It was basically a death trap in a cup. Cities dumped their waste straight into rivers. Wells got contaminated with everything from animal poop to human garbage, and nobody understood why people kept getting sick. Think about it. You're living in a time when your neighbor might be washing their clothes upstream while someone else is, well, doing their business in the same water. The monks faced a serious problem. They needed something safe to drink, and that's when they had their brilliant eureka moment with beer. The brewing process actually killed off harmful bacteria, making beer safer than water. Plus, the alcohol content helped preserve it. Pretty smart for guys who spent most of their time praying and copying books. Here's where it gets really interesting. These clever monks found a genius way around their strict fasting rules. See, during Lent and other fasting periods, they couldn't eat solid food. But guess what wasn't considered food? Yep, liquids. They called beer liquid bread and argued it was basically just grain in drinkable form. Some monks even brewed special double-strength beers that were thick enough to practically chew. These heavy-duty brews packed enough calories and nutrients to keep them going through their long days of prayer and work. The church actually gave this practice their blessing. They figured it was better than having hangry monks who couldn't focus on their prayers. These monks were basically the first food scientists, even if they didn't know it at the time. They started experimenting with different ingredients and techniques, keeping detailed records of what worked and what flopped. They discovered that adding hops didn't just make beer taste better, it helped keep it fresh longer. Through countless batches of trial and error, they figured out that letting the brew ferment in cool, dark cellars produced better results than leaving it in the sun. And get this, they even developed different recipes for different seasons. Some monasteries got so good at brewing, they started sharing their secrets with other monasteries through letters and visits. It was like a medieval version of open-source brewing. While monks shared some brewing knowledge, the real gold standard recipes? Those stayed locked up tighter than the monastery treasury. Each abbey had their special techniques, passed down from master brewer to apprentice like precious family secrets. Some monasteries even split their recipes into parts, so no single monk knew the whole process. Take the Trappist monks. They were so serious about protecting their beer secrets that they'd only let certain brothers into the brewing room. And those secret recipes, they worked. These beers were so good that kings and nobles would pay top dollar for them. Even today, authentic Trappist breweries are rarer than a sober medieval peasant. There are only 11 in the whole world. You're gonna love this. Monks weren't just making beer, they were creating miracles. Take the town of Einbeck in 1400s Germany. When the Black Death hit hard, the local monastery kept brewing their special beer, which somehow helped people stay healthy. We now know it was because the beer was safer than water and packed with nutrients. Or how about the monks of Paulana in Munich? During Lent, they brewed this super strong beer called Doppelbock that kept the whole community fed when food was scarce. They called it liquid bread, and it was so filling that some folks survived on it alone for weeks. These monastery breweries became community lifelines, turning barley and hops into literal lifesavers. Okay, let's spill some medieval tea. These monasteries weren't always the quiet, peaceful places you might imagine. Sometimes they turned into what we'd basically call ancient beer festivals. The monks brewed so much beer that they often had massive surplus, leading to some pretty rowdy celebrations. Local villagers would show up for blessing ceremonies that somehow always ended with everyone sampling the holy brews. Even church officials couldn't resist. There are actual records of bishops complaining about monks who were too hungover to sing morning prayers. But here's the kicker. These parties served a crucial social purpose, bringing communities together and helping monasteries build relationships with local powers. Let me tell you about the original beer influencers, medieval monks who turned brewing into a marketing masterpiece. These guys knew their beer was amazing, but they also knew something else. Reputation is everything. They started branding their brews with monastery seals, basically inventing the first beer logos. Smart monks would send free samples to nobles and church officials, creating serious FOMO among medieval VIPs. They even started hosting tastings after religious ceremonies. Genius move. Word spread fast about which monasteries made the best beer, and soon people were traveling for days just to get their hands on specific monastery brews. Let's talk about the church's biggest headache. And no, I don't mean the morning after kind. By the 13th century, some monasteries were getting a bit too enthusiastic about their brewing. Reports started flying around about monks stumbling through morning prayers and using gold chalices as beer mugs. The church bigwigs were not happy. Some bishops wrote angry letters about monasteries turning into taverns. But here's the funny part. Most monastery leaders fought back. They argued that beer brewing was essential for survival and community support. Plus, they made a clever point. Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, so clearly God was cool with a little fermentation. The debate got so heated that Pope Innocent IV had to step in, basically saying, "Guys, keep brewing, but maybe cool it with the partying." You might think monk breweries are just ancient history, but these holy brewmasters are still crushing it today. Take the Westvleteren brewery in Belgium. Their beer is so legendary, people literally crash their website trying to buy it. Modern monk brewers mix centuries-old recipes with high-tech equipment, creating beers that would make their medieval brothers proud. They're still super strict about quality too. Real Trappist beer can only come from monasteries where monks oversee every step of brewing. And get this, some monasteries still use the original yeast strains their ancestors cultivated hundreds of years ago. These aren't just beers, they're time machines in a bottle. Beer wasn't the only drink flowing from monastery cellars. These creative monks were master mixologists of all sorts. They whipped up everything from herb-infused wines to potent liqueurs. Ever heard of Chartreuse? That green drink with 130 secret ingredients was born in a Carthusian monastery. Then there's Benedictine, created by monks who turned local herbs into liquid gold. They even made mead, mixing honey with water and letting nature work its magic. These monastery-made drinks weren't just tasty. They started as medicines. The monks would experiment with different herbs and spices, creating concoctions that helped treat everything from stomach aches to the common cold. Thanks for joining me on this boozy journey through medieval monastery life. If you enjoyed learning about these holy brewmasters, smash that like button and subscribe for more fascinating historical tales. Share with your beer-loving friends. They'll thank you later.